Go straight to Congressman Lee Zeldin, who joins us now. All right, Congressman, thanks for joining us. Your reaction to all this breaking news this morning?
Not a good day for Paul Manafort. It's important, though, as we read through the indictment, this is an allegation going back a decade. And while the Democrats may try to tie this to the president, that would be a really unfair and inaccurate, very partisan political characterization.
So in other words, you'd be surprised. I'm just being facetious here, but the point is, though, is if and the judge Napolitano was reading through it, kind of speed reading because it's pretty exhaustive work. But apparently the timeline does begin in 2006 up until September 2016. So that will be used, that will be grabbed by the mainstream media, and you already heard their complaint from the DNC, false statements, pro-Putin, all of this surrounding President Trump. It looks like things that began years and years ago, to your point, a decade ago, probably what's at the center of this, but it certainly, can this have an impact on the work you guys are trying to achieve in Capitol Hill?
No, not at all. I mean, we're focused on getting tax reform done. We need to get it done before the end of this year. We have important priorities. Every single week when we're down in Washington getting victories across the finish line, several hundred bills, well over 300 bills have already passed the House this year. That's not going to stop because of this.
Well, let's speak about victories, because New York Republicans had a big victory for New York with the SALT. Apparently, we don't know because it kind of changes day to day, but now apparently those state and local deductions are off the table again, from what I understand. Is that true?
Well, I'm waiting for confirmation on exactly what the change is going to be. So the original proposal was to fully eliminate the state and local tax deduction. We've been getting indication that there are some major changes that are getting made to it, but exactly what is going to be placed on the table.
Would you be okay with a compromise? In other words, a higher economic threshold for them, so that very, very rich people probably won't get them, but the middle class, particularly middle class in states like New York and New Jersey, which are higher income levels than other parts of the country?
Well, first off, my position is that the state and local tax deduction should stay. But when we start talking about this, it's important to note a few things. One is my duty to my constituents. I want my hardworking middle-income, low-income constituents to be getting tax relief just like everyone all across the entire country in their districts.
But I got to just let me, because we're running out of time, but when you start talking about everyone else around the rest of the country, Republican voters in the rest of the other parts of the country saying, why should your state be subsidized? Why should New Yorkers, rich New Yorkers, get a subsidy from the federal government if they don't get it in Mississippi?
Those rich New Yorkers are subsidizing the rest of the country. New York is subsidizing the rest of the country, both tax policy and spending policy, when you look at both sides of the ledger. And it's also important to note that one of the reasons why our state and local tax deduction is as high as it is because our state and local taxes are as high as they are.
Right, but that has nothing to do with the guy in Mississippi who wants to know why. Okay, you've got Democrats and progressives who control your state. They've run it into the ground. They feel sorry for you. Move out of the state. They got room down there for you. But we know it's going to be serious infighting. And this is ultimately then what gets hurt. What sacred cow is sacrificed? Because we've heard 401ks, and that scares the bejesus out of everybody. We don't want that. What would be the compromise?
Well, I don't know exactly what the Ways and Means Committee is going to be placing on the table on that. So we'll look to see what they're proposing. This is a deduction this isn't a new debate. I mean, this is a deduction that's been around for 100 years. This is one of the ways that Abraham Lincoln helped finance the Civil War. So it's been around for a while. And again, we're not being subsidized with state and local tax deduction existing or not existing. We're subsidizing these other states more than they're subsidizing us. We get less back on the dollar where there's these other states getting $2 back on the dollar. I agree that we need our state and local governments to be more responsible with their spending. But for us, at 60 days from now, to be going from 100% to 0%, it's just bad policy. We need to give enough of a time for them to get their fiscal house in order, and that's a message to Bill de Blasio in New York City, Andrew Cuomo up in Albany, because there's a reason why they're leaving.
Yeah. Congressman, thank you very much.
Great to see you.
I know it's complicated, but we hope you guys get it done on Wednesday.
We have to.
Okay, appreciate it.